brother. Glad to be back on here.
I think you're the first person I've ever had on 3 times.
Come on now. Okay, I'll take that.
Yeah. So welcome, everybody. This is episode 92 of Kowalski Analysis, and we're entitling this one, Reclaiming Control, Men's Struggles with Pornography with Frank Rich. Let me tell you who Frank is. I want to give you a proper introduction. Let me give you an introduction first, and then I'll do a couple of other housekeeping things. So Frank is a multifaceted individual whose life journey has taken him from the world of bodybuilding, entrepreneurship, to becoming a respected men's health coach and the host of the Superhuman Life podcast. With a compelling story of personal transformation, Frank has made it his mission to guide men battling addiction, depression, and anxiety towards regaining control of their lives through the transformative power of faith and fitness. Having personally faced and conquered the demons of addiction, depression, and anxiety for nearly 2 decades, Frank is not only a coach and mentor, but a living testament to the potential for change and growth. His remarkable journey is an inspirational testament to the resilience of the human spirit. As the founder and CEO of Rebuilt Recovery, Frank has established a company that embraces a holistic approach to addiction recovery, placing growth at its core. Rebuilt Recovery offers comprehensive fitness training for men on the path to recovery and provides invaluable one-on-one coaching for those seeking liberation from the clutches of pornography addiction. Welcome back.
Dude, that sounds amazing, man. I hired somebody to write that for me. It sounds pretty good.
You're like, dude, I want to meet this guy. I mean, anytime the people would read my bio, I thought, man, it sounds pretty impressive, dude.
Well, it's always difficult, man, like talking about yourself, right? So I'm like, you know what, man? Like, let me get somebody else to highlight the things that we've been doing. But no, it sounds sharp, man. You're actually the first person to read that.
Let me go ahead and tag everybody. We are live in the Waiting Works community, which, sorry about that. That's a community I started for people that are saving sex for marriage, or at least attempting to. And we're also live on my business page on Facebook, and then in the YouTube, on my YouTube channel. So great. So everybody, before we dive in, if you're watching this live or you're watching the replay, drop a comment, say hello. If you hear something that you like, give it a couple hearts or thumbs ups. If you have questions, post them in the comments. We'll try to get to a few. There's going to be 2 parts to this podcast. The first part will be for all of you that are watching publicly. We're going to talk about pornography, some of the what's and whys and harmful effects of it. There's going to be a second part that'll be private for a private community that I have called the Alpha Man Blueprint, where Frank is actually going to prescribe an exercise, a tool that he uses to help his clients. But yeah, we can pretty much dive into it. Actually, before we do, let me see here. I have I do this segment. I don't know if we have ever done this before, but we do a segment called This or That. So I fire like 5 questions at you in rapid succession, real simple this or that questions, so that you can people that get to know you a little bit better.
Okay, I think we had this last time I don't think you did it the first time, but I do think you did something like this the second bout around.
Okay, cool. Well, let's do it again. You ready?
Yeah.
All right.
Hopefully they're different, or hopefully if they're the same questions, hopefully my answers are the same. But if they're different, hopefully I've grown, right?
Yeah, we're gonna fact check you now. All right, better self-care, cold plunging or sauna?
Both. Well, what's better? What do you mean by better?
This or that? It's just you got to pick one. Cold plunge or sauna?
Man, for me or for the audience?
Yeah, for you.
For me, it's funny, man. I was actually had this conversation yesterday with somebody. I don't think that this is how this answer is supposed to go, but I've been doing sauna every day for probably 4 years now. And I've been cold plunging now every day for about 120 days.
Nice.
If I had to choose and eliminate one, I would eliminate the sauna because the cold plunge sucks.
Right.
I've never wanted to do it, but the way that I feel after every single time doing it, it's absolutely incredible. So if I had to choose one, I would probably keep the cold plunge. Also, I live in Florida, so I can get hot if I needed to.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think for me, if I had to pick one, but they're different. So the better is not the best question around these things.
Just for you, just this or that. Real, you don't have to put that much thought into it.
Sorry.
So that's okay. No, dude, I just plunged for the 3rd time 20 minutes before this episode, and Yeah, I mean, I feel good. I'm still shivering
Yeah.
a little bit.
What temperature you get at?
I don't have a thermometer in it, so I filled it up from the hose. So it's about 40 degrees overnight here. It's about 50 during the day. I filled it up from the hose. The first day, it wasn't that bad. I'm guessing it was about 55 degrees if I had to guess.
Okay.
Maybe 60. I don't know. I heard anything below 60, you get benefits. So it was cold though. It was like a really cold pool. And then the next time I put a bag of ice in it that night. The next day I got it because it sat out all night. It was much colder. And I did 3 minutes and like 50 seconds and it was cold. And then I did it again today. It's been sitting outside all that time. I'm guessing it's in the 40 to 50 range, but I need to get a water thermometer so I can actually
That's
see.
a big range. Yeah. 40 to 50 is a big range. 50 is bearable. Once you get below 47, 46, like your fingers start tingling a little bit. Mine stays at 46. I have a chiller filter and all that. Obviously I don't live in Baltimore, so I don't have the cold weather, but yeah, I keep mine at 46. And it tingles your fingers. So
Yeah.
that's and yeah, I think it's minimum is you want to be at about three minutes per session.
Yeah, I could feel the pins and needles a little bit, like when I'm
Okay.
sitting in there. So, I mean, if I look at Wim Hof, and we're getting off topic here a little bit, but if I look at Wim Hof, sorry about that. I should put that on airplane mode. He just dives in like a freaking creek, so it's not that scientific. Like it's whatever the temperature is at that time of year, wherever he lives. I'm sure you're getting benefit, if it's cold. It's just uncomfortably cold is what Andrew Huberman said. And it's definitely uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, let's keep going. All right. Next question. Visualization or journaling?
Visualizing through journaling. I don't see. Yeah. God, man. Once again, both, right? But I guess if I had to choose one, because I'm a visionary, I would keep the visualization in play. Although I do enjoy having both of those.
Yeah. Those are both of those two questions. I would choose gold plunging and visualization. I find. Yeah. I mean, I just personal choice. Okay, better.
Well, what we're going to talk about later, right, is crafting a vision. I really feel that's a skill set that I hold, is helping people get a clear vision on their life, and it's something I've really been able to play out in my life.
Okay, better inspirational quote: "Progress, not perfection," or "One day at a time."
Better inspirational quote: "Progress, not perfection," or "One day at a time." I mean, if I got to pick one of those, I would say progress over perfection.
Okay. Personal reward: relaxing at the spa or thrilling adventure in the great outdoors?
A reward? The thrilling adventure, because relaxing at a spa is not a reward. It's a requirement.
Okay. Coaching approach: tough love or gentle guidance?
Both, man. Like the best coaches in the world know how to do both. And I think it's the integration of that. And it's also knowing the type of individual that you're coaching. But if I had to choose one, once again, which I think this is exercise is about, I'm a tough love guy. I mean, any of my clients will know that. Anybody that's followed me for any length of time will understand that I'm gonna kick you in the nuts, but I'm gonna give you a hug immediately afterwards. And I think that's tough love. I think that's what men need. I think men need more tough love.
Yeah. Tell it to me straight. All right, good. Real quick, I just want to thank our sponsor, Chum City Countdown, the largest all-inclusive New Year's Eve charity gala on the East Coast, returning for its 15th year, held at the BWI Airport Hilton. This theme is the Royal Renaissance Ball, and this party includes everything, like 4.5 hours open bar, all your food, 16 party zones. You can go to charmcitycountdown.com for more information. All right, so let's get into it. Let's talk a little bit about your expertise in helping men overcome pornography addiction. Maybe give people a little bit of your background with porn addiction and how you got to be a coach in this field.
Yeah, man. Well, obviously, I would probably point people that want the full story. I think that's really what we talked about in the entirety of our first episode. So I don't want to take all of that up here today. But for me, I think the work that I'm doing, and this is how I've kind of come to understand my role and why I think I've been able to be successful. Everything that I've created with Rebuilt Recovery is really a byproduct of my entirety life's work, right? Like I'm really feeling like I'm embracing my 20 years of professional work. So I got into real leadership development coaching at a very young age. So what I've done career-wise my entire life is help people transform and move forward in their lives across multiple industries, from individual sales to retail-based sales to leadership and management training. I got into some corporate recruiting, and obviously I spent 15 plus years in the fitness industry, in and out of things, part-time, full-time, and all that. So my expertise falls in helping people understand themselves and move forward in life. Now, why I specifically planted my flag in the porn addiction space is because overcoming my addiction in 2019 radically changed me, myself, my life, how I see the world. So it's been a combination of an individual personal journey of struggling and getting on the other side of it, but also embracing and really honing in on what I feel are unique skill sets that I possess to really do good service for the world. You know, once again, this is a conversation I was having yesterday, is you see so many people coming online in the coaching space that I believe are coming from a place of wanting to do good, but in reality, I think they're doing more harm than they are to good. I think there's too many people, the blind leading the blind. Just because you went through a journey in your life doesn't mean that you have the ability to lead others through that same journey. Now, I do think that it plays a role, understanding that journey and understanding overcoming those trials and tribulations, I think plays a role in helping it. But just because somebody lost weight doesn't mean that you know how to help somebody else lose weight. I've seen a lot of men or a lot of young men that are rising up in my space that have overcome pornography in their own life. These are young guys in their 20s, and now they're out there trying to coach other men, but they don't possess any real transformational coaching skills. So the work that we're doing with Rebuilt Recovery is pulling on 20 years of experience in training, leadership development, real transformational life coaching change, paired with a true journey of my own struggles. So yeah, I mean, if there's specific questions about the journey that you wanted to get into, but
well, yeah, I mean, really quickly, you were addicted to porn for a number of times, like I forget how long it was, and then basically decided enough was enough and went through a process where you've been free now from porn for how many years is it?
Yeah, so it's been 4 years and 9 months. So February 14th of 2019 was, what I guess you could call a day of sobriety or day of real freedom. I struggled. So context here, I'm standing here at 40 years old today. My introduction to porn came at the age of 6. And it obviously wasn't, what the kids have access to today, but it did plant an early seed, and I can see how it led into, once I had access to the internet and technology and smartphones and devices, how it really began to escalate. But I do think it was that initial impression early on that planted the seed. And obviously there's a lot of science that points to early exposure, how it creates compulsions later in life. But for me, it was probably a real 15-year aware struggle from my early 20s to about 35, 36, that I knew that there was something that I was struggling with. I would have these false starts here and there. A part of me was like accepting it. It's just a part of your life. It's every guy's doing it. All the lies that so many men believe. Probably guys are hearing this right now. They believe these lies. Series of events, though, between 2017 to 2018 radically transformed my life. One of them was joining a business mastermind that really began my journey into accepting Christ into my life. I talk about the day that I did find my faith, which was October 22nd of 2018. I was there with a great friend of ours, Josh Cashadorian. And he shared the gospel with me. And that was really the day that I guess I could say I found my faith and I committed my life to Christ. And that was the journey of now me beginning to transform myself, getting, clean of alcohol, getting clean of drugs, and pornography was the last thing. And that was in February of 2019. And I didn't know at the time really what it was going to lead to. I knew that I was committed to change. I was doing it, one, for myself, and I was doing it for a woman. I thought that if I got it out of our life or out of my life, we could then build a life together. That relationship ended. But what did change was how I saw myself, how I saw people in the world, and my ability to, once again, maybe lead and transform other people's lives. That, sparked me to start the podcast in July of that year, because I just felt so free. And I said, you know what, Frank, like, you've been pretty successful in your life. You've accomplished a lot of things. You've been around a lot of very successful people as well. You have great insights. You have a background in fitness. You've competed in bodybuilding. You've, generated millions of dollars in your businesses. You've studied personal development. You read 500 plus books at that time. How did you still get caught up in this? So there was elements of me wanting to understand how I got caught up in it, even though I was chasing what I thought was greatness. But also there was this realization of there's a lot of guys out there that aren't you, and I don't say this in a way to like tout myself up on this pedestal, right? But a lot of guys that didn't chase high performance, a lot of guys that didn't have the discipline and willpower to step on the bodybuilding stage, a lot of guys that hadn't read hundreds of books or spent thousands of dollars on personal development. Do they even have the tools? So initially the podcast was really to bring awareness to the conversation and maybe help others through what we were talking about. The coaching became a byproduct. Like I didn't start down the path to make it a coaching business. I was running a marketing agency. We were having a lot of success in scaling this company. But as I started to have the conversations on a weekly basis, because I had somewhat of a public profile back then, the messages started to just flood in. Frank, we love what you're talking about over here. Can you help us? Can you help us? Can you help me? 3-4 months of that goes by, you get, 30 guys reaching out to you for help. Fortunately, I have a great network of people around me, and they said, Frank, you need to pull the trigger on this. So January 28th of 2020, we took on our first 2 clients of what at the time wasn't even called Rebuilt Recovery. And it's been, an incredible journey since. We've had over 500 successful transformations, have impacted close to 6,000 men through various courses and books that we have. And it's really shown a lot to me about really what's happening out there. I guess for me at the beginning, I didn't understand the severity of the problem, how many men are struggling and how many men feel hopeless. And I think that's my biggest issue, is the amount of men that truly feel like they are powerless to this thing. And I don't think we're powerless to anything. So yeah, that's kind of been the journey, man. God has been really good in my life, and really excited about some of the things we're doing. I think we're having a real impact and change on the world right now.
Dude, I love it. I love what you're doing. Actually, I got a picture of you here. I'm going to show it. This is Frank in his bodybuilding days. Yeah. Jacked. Look at that, dude. What show?
Bro, that guy's coming back, man. That was right after the Florida State. I placed 4th in the state of Florida. That was the first year they had classic physique. So I'd done the bodybuilding stuff for a while, from 2008 to 2014. But I'm 6'3". So for me to be a real successful bodybuilder, like I would have to be ginormous. And I didn't want to do the things to my body. So I kind of stepped away from competing in 2014. And then there's this division out there called the WBFF, which is more of a modeling type of organization. And I did a show with them called the Male Muscle Model. Trophy's actually sitting behind me over on I placed 3rd in a world show for them. But the feedback I even got from them is why I didn't place 1st was because I carried too much mass and I still had that bodybuilding type of look. So when the NPC and the IFBB created classic physique in 2016, I'm like, that's my category, right? So I did a couple shows there. Like I said, I placed 4th in the state, and then I did step away from it in 2017 to go all in on the businesses. But I got the itch, man, and it started to creep back up early this year. So recommitted myself to getting on stage next year. I'm older now. I'll be able to compete in a master's division, and I truly feel, Rob, like I left something out there. Like I don't feel like I brought my absolute best yet. So I'm really enjoying training right now. It's kind of lit a new fire inside of me, and hopefully that picture that you just showed up there, hopefully I shatter that look next summer.
Dude, that would be impressive because you're older now. This is me back when I did the Maryland one. That's me on the left when I was 22 years old.
Okay, can't really see your legs.
Yeah, I got some blue-haired lady blocking me, but yeah, I mean, the one thing about it is like you learn so much about your body when you compete. Like I've been able to loosely follow that diet my whole life, because I learned so much about diet, how my body responded to different things, cardio, calories, high glycemic, low glycemic, carbs, that I've been able to carry that over. So it's almost like, training for like a competitive fight or something. You're going to push yourself because you got that deadline. You don't want to be embarrassed. You're going to be on stage. I don't know that I'd do it again personally, but hats off to you. So you had mentioned like everybody's, all guys are doing this. Like, what are some of the common misconceptions around pornography addiction?
Common misconceptions around pornography addiction.
Meaning like what are you dealing with your clients? Like I'm sure it's not harmful. It's natural. I got.
Well, that's not the stuff that we deal with, right? Because by the time a guy reaches out to me, like he's looking for help. So with our clients, like I'm not dealing with a lot of that. Once they're in the work, though, it's us building their beliefs back up. By the time that a guy reaches out to somebody like me to ask for help with a pornography addiction, he's tried and failed multiple times, if not dozens of times. And most of these men have had it a part of their life for a decade plus. So there's this underlying belief within them that they can never be truly free, that pornography is going to be a part of their life. So for the clients that we work with, the biggest hurdle we have to overtake or overcome is going to be the belief system in and around, can I actually be free of this? Because like I said, if you've tried and failed a dozen times at doing something, there's this underlying subconscious belief inside of you that's going to drive a lot of your behaviors. And that's going to lead to self-sabotage. Because if you don't believe that you deserve a life free of pornography, then it doesn't matter if you go 3 months, 6 months, a year, 3 years. If you don't believe that for the rest of your life, you deserve to be free, there will come a point when you self-sabotage. Let's break down what self-sabotage ultimately is. So our subconscious drives about 80% to 90% of our actions. Like there's this unconscious part of our mind that is hardwired and programmed from the time that we're born until the time that the brain is fully developed, around 24, 25 years old. So that subconscious programming is driving the things. Like just if somebody would keep a journal, or if you recorded yourself all day long, you would be shocked at how many stupid, ignorant things we all do unconsciously, right? But if inside of that belief system, if you do not believe that you deserve real freedom, then somewhere down the road, when life gets stressful, when you get rejected by a woman, when the wife turns you down, when you hit financial stress, when something like that presents itself in your life, your default behavior is going to be, I need to go act out and consume pornography. And I need to destroy my life, right? Like this is when you see it with lottery winners, right? Why do 80% of lottery winners go bankrupt in 5 years? Because they don't believe that they're actually the person that deserves that money. So they make life choices and decisions that bring them back to their subconscious reality. So I think the biggest thing that we have to overcome with the men that we're working with is, do I truly deserve and can I be 100% free of this thing for the rest of my life? Now, the misconceptions in the rest of the world is pornography is not a real thing, right? There's no such thing as that. I get called a snake oil salesman multiple times a week at this point because I'm out there, I'm trying to mislead men. The DSM-5, which is the clinical book that recognizes all behavioral and substance addictions, doesn't even recognize it there as well. And I think that there's factors that drive that, right? But I think one of the biggest misconceptions in the world is that it's not a real thing, or that every guy is doing it, right? So yeah, those are a couple of them.
What are some of the effects that this pornography addiction has on personal well-being and relationships?
Yeah, well, some of the effects that it has.
Negative consequences. I'm sure it's, if people are reaching out, they're probably it's negatively impacting their life in some way. I know personally, when I look at porn, I feel like a weak piece of shit. I feel like I failed. I consumed poison. I sinned, I just feel not strong.
Yeah, well, hijacks, your motivation, hijacks your dopamine receptors, your reward center. It creates these, overstimulated, super normal stimulus, bouts of chemicals that are released within your brain. If you're a guy that's trying to quit and you continue to use it, it's shattering your confidence. Like you said, right? It's like every time that you go against what you say you want to be doing, it's like, there you go, like dipshit again, right? It's kind of high, it's really, undermining our views and perceptions of ourselves, perceptions of women. When you watch pornography, the part of your brain that lights up, it's a part that's associated to objects. So if I see, a bottle of water sitting here on my counter, in order for me to be able to pick that up, my brain has to recognize it as an object. Well, relationship is a completely different center within our brain. Like when we experience intimacy with people. Well, if I program myself that every time I see a female physique, that it's an object, then I step out in the world. What do? I see the world through the lens of objectification, right? So that's the real impairment on the relationship side of things. Get into, the negative side effects physically for a man, the erectile dysfunction, premature ejaculation, all of these. But I think it's the effects are individualized, but those are going to be, some of the main ones that we're going to see.
Yeah. I had a buddy that was looking at porn before he got married, and then after he got married, he was having a hard time getting it up after, because of what you're saying. Supposedly, you have a real person there in front of you, but you fed this other part of your brain so much that it does, causes some problems. I had another.
So the brain is it's a prediction learning machine, right? So the brain is designed to experience the world and then predict what's going to happen next. So if it predicts, the pathway to ejaculation is by you watching videos and touching yourself, that's how your body is going to be wired. What fires together wires together. So 100%.
Yeah. I had another friend of mine that he was watching so much porn, he started consuming gay porn, and he wasn't gay. I knew the guy, and he admitted it to me. He's like, because it had to be more twisted. It was like, I heard one of the definitions of diminishing returns is pornography. Like, it's the more you do it, the more, the weirder it has to get.
Yeah.
And
Well, that's addiction. Yeah. I mean, that's addiction, defined, right? So desensitization, you need more and more of the drug to produce the same effect. Anybody that struggled with alcohol will tell you that's the case. I started drinking, Miller Lite when I was in high school. By the time I was 25, I was down in a fifth of whiskey every single night. So there was a desensitization that I needed more and more hardcore of the same effect. Or why has marijuana been labeled as a gateway, right? Okay, because you start smoking weed when you're in high school, it creates certain effects, and then the weed kind of stops working. So you begin to explore kind of other things. Well, how does this make me feel? How does that make me feel? So yeah, I think the desensitization with pornography is we begin to explore deeper and darker realms of pornography. But here's the thing, man, is it doesn't stop there, right? This is where I talk a lot about the link between pornography and human trafficking. So if what I'm seeing on the screen stops working, well, my mind still wants to get all that same feeling, where there's pathways now for me to go and get that, right? I could look at prostitution, I could look at escorts, or if I'm so caught up and I want to do things that even people wouldn't consent to do, well, I can just go buy somebody from a trafficker, right? And that's why the US, I believe, has become the #1 consumer of human trafficking.
Yeah, man. I want to say there's a pretty big link to like people that either pedophilia or maybe even like some of these people that shot up schools and stuff, like serial killers, that they started like consuming porn at a high level before they acted out.
Yeah, that's the one I have a hard time. I understand, right? Guys like Ted Bundy, a lot of these serial killers have explained that or that they've had massive issues with pornography. I see a hard link between consuming pornography and shooting up schools. Now, yes, like when you're mentally ill, right? Like, yeah, you're going to be doing a lot of things. And yeah, absolutely. I think that just the bandwidth of it and the amount of people that are consuming it. So yeah, you're going to see some things like that, but I will never make the statement that if you start watching pornography, you may end up as a serial killer. I think that's a massive.
Yeah. I think if you okay, so think about like people that are maybe sexually frustrated. I could totally see how they would go out and be more prone to commit violence, because if a guy's getting like a ton of pussy, like, is he really going to go out and hurt somebody? I doubt it. He's probably a pretty happy guy, like whether he's married. I mean, hopefully he's married, but I don't think that that's the kind of person that's going to go out and have all this hate in them. And I really think that's one of probably the worst things about porn is it enables you to have some reward with very little investment of anything.
Yeah. Well, John Eldredge says it, right? Pornography is so dangerous because it gives a man everything that he wants and desires from a woman without requiring anything of him in return. If you think about it, like, I had a great friend, Drew Boa. He talks about porn becomes a pacifier for men. So when our life presents problems to us, we begin to suck on something like a pacifier. And what we begin to suck on is the use of pornography. So if every time you're angry, stressed, something happens in your life, you don't like the way that things are going, something didn't go your way, your outlet becomes pornography. Well, when things don't happen the way that you want them and you don't have pornography readily available, that's where outbursts comes happen, right? Like I saw this play out in my life. And I've shared a story about 3 days after quitting pornography. So I quit on the 14th. By the 17th, this was probably the first time in maybe a decade I had gone like that length of time without some type of pornography and some type of sexual release with pornography. I had a massive outburst, like angry, throwing stuff, bashing walls. I ended up breaking my hand. So I saw that play out in my own life. And as I was unpacking that, I'm like, God, Frank, you used to have a lot of rage. And what was the driver of that rage was a pornography addiction, because when I didn't have something that I wanted, I could easily go sedate myself. I could easily go numb myself with porn. So there definitely is a link between pornography addiction and the acting out the rage component.
Right. Well, I want to get to this this tool here, but before we do that, is there any what would you give people for getting started on a journey of recovery and maybe maintaining it? Without not diving into the specifics of the tool that we're going to talk about, but do you have any broad kind of tips that you offer?
In terms of so this is a guy that's out there and he's
aware
that he's struggling.
Yeah, or a female, maybe, because I think that studies have shown that they're that's getting almost as bad with the women as it is with the men, isn't it?
Yeah. We haven't delved into working with women. I've a handful that reach out. I understand what it means to be a man. And going back to one of the questions that you asked, the tough love coaching, like not sure a lot of women would appreciate the way that I speak to some of our clients, right? So I've stayed within my lane here. Just like anything, man, trying to change an area of your life, right? Like if you're fat and out of shape and you want to get healthy, what's the first thing you have to do? Is you have to look at yourself in the mirror and say, I'm fat and out of shape and I'm sick and tired of it. So I think accepting the issue of where you're at and then committing to true change. That's where most people fall short, is they want to do something, right? I want to get in shape. I want to quit porn. I want to start a business. I want to find a partner. I want to find a wife. Like, stop wanting to do things and just go fucking do it. Sorry, my language, but I think too many people don't accept the reality of what's happening and don't actually commit to doing whatever it takes. If I had a gun to your head and said, if you watch pornography again, I'm going to pull the trigger, I guarantee you would go the rest of your life without looking at pornography. So create that element in your life. Not saying hold a gun to your head, but if you can do something with a gun to your head, that means you can do it without the gun to your head. So figure out what that takes for you and commit to that. So accept where you are and commit to real change. Those are the first 2 steps of my 7-step guide.
What do you think people are giving up by hanging on to a porn addiction? Like, what's on the other side of it?
Who they are, who God created them to be, real life, real peace, real joy, real happiness, real connection, real intimacy, the true purpose and meaning of life. It's disgusting filter for reality. Yeah,
it's good, Frank. Hey, everybody, go check Frank out at rebuiltrecovery.com if you or someone you love needs help in this area. He's, again, helped over 500 men gain freedom from pornography and has been through it himself. So he's a good person to hire for this or to reach out to for this specific issue. We're going to go ahead and end it here, and then we're going to go to the private part if you're ready for that. Go to the second part of the podcast and talk about.
I'm here for.
Okay, great. Okay. All right, guys. I'll see you on the next episode. Anything else before we jump out of here, Frank? No,
I love you guys.
Okay. All right. Awesome. See you guys on the next episode.